Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Rama Rama, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Krishna,
There's a whole other room over here, so we're gonna need a traffic cop or something, so people know where to sit and where not to sit. I don't do such a good job. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste. Paschatya Satadide Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Part 2. And for those of you that weren't with us for part 1, I'll give you a little background. These are 8 prayers taken from Canto 5, Chapter 19. And of those of you that are familiar a little bit with Canto 5, that's Canto 5 deals with cosmology. And the set of prayers begin with Hanuman offering prayers to Lord Ramachandra in Kim Purusha Varsha. Those of you that were with us for part 1, you remember that. And for those of you that weren't with us, here's Kim Purusha Varsha. Kim Purusha Varsha is one of 9 Varshas that make up the central island, Jambudweep. There's Kim Purusha Varsha, see? There's Bharata Varsha. There's Kim Purusha Varsha, that's the tract of land, Varsha, in between this Himalayan mountain range. And on the other side of the Himalayan mountain range is Himakuta mountain range, and Kim Purusha Varsha is in between. And on the other side, no crying allowed. He saved you a space right back there, Mataji. There's the chair with your name on it, and it doesn't have a rocking chair, but don't put your chair in front of her, that Mataji. You're entitled to sit in the chair, but not to block her. Okay, so you see where that little red laser pointer is. This is Kim Purusha Varsha. And on the other side of this mountain range called Nishadha is Hari Varsha. So Bharat Varsha, Kim Purusha Varsha, Hari Varsha. And then the central Varsha is Elavrita Varsha. That's the central one that's surrounding Mount Sumeru. And so there's 1, 2, 3, east and west. And there's 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3. That makes 9, right? Usually. Now, some of you may remember one of the mountains that Hanuman brought when there was a problem with Lakshmana is Gandhamanana. In case you wanted to know where that is, that's where it is. And there's 2 sets of mountain ranges this side, 2 sets of mountain ranges this side, 2 over here, and 2 in the back. 2 times 4 is 6. Oops, 2 times 4 is 8. Just making sure that you're awake, that's all. And look at this. If you wanted to know where Kailash is, there's where Kailash is. Look at that. Now this direction is south, and this direction is north. So these little mountains or mountain ranges is Mount Kailash is in this mountain range, one of these 2 up here. And of course Mount Sumeru is really tall. But just to give you a picture from Vedic cosmology where we are, or at least where Hanuman is. And Hanuman is in Kim Purusha Varsha, and he's with Arishtasena, and he and Arishtasena and all the other residents of Kim Purusha Varsha are engaged continuously in singing the glories of Ram. And there's 4 verses taken by Shukadeva Goswami in describing Vedic cosmology, what goes on in Kimpurusha Varsha. And it's Hanuman-led glorifications of Ram or offering prayers to Ram. So we covered the first 4. The first 2 were kind of introduction. The other 2 were just glorification of his transcendentalness. And now it's going to get a little more specific about some of the aspects of Ramayana and Lord Ram. And here's verse number 5. It was ordained that Ravana, there's chairs back here, the chief of the Rakshasas, could not be killed by anyone but a man. And for this reason, Lord Ramachandra, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, appeared in the form of a human being. Lord Ramachandra's mission, however, was not only to kill Ravana, but also to teach mortal beings, get ready, that material happiness centered around sex life or centered around one's wife is the cause of many miseries. And it's going to come up in the next verse too. He is the self-sufficient, Supreme Personality of Godhead, and nothing is lamentable for him. Therefore, why else could he be subjected to tribulations by the kidnapping of Mother Sita? In case you wanted to know, Hanuman knows. And Hanuman's telling us. He wants to teach a lesson. And it's not possible, he says it twice, it's not possible that he can be separated from Sita. It's not possible also that he can be lamenting. But he's acting as if lamenting. Now this is on the material side, and then there's the transcendental emotion, but he's just speaking for the edification of us. He cannot possibly be subjected to tribulation of any kind, material kind. So there's nothing lamentable for him. Now, the painting is finishing Ravana, and there's a few finishing Ravana paintings because it's part of the excitement of Ramayana. There's a long battle description. Somehow battle descriptions make their way into the Puranic histories. But it's a transcendental battle, and Ravana is invincible except for Ram. And he thinks he's invincible, but he thinks wrongly. There's a particular section after the battle, and the battle, and the battle, and the battle, and the battle. His chariot driver, Ram's chariot driver. What's Ram's chariot driver's name? Who knows Ramayana? Huh? Who was Ramchandra's chariot driver? I forgot too. His chariot driver said, now is time to use that special arrow that Agastya gave you. Remember, long, long ago in the forest, Agastya gave you a celestial weapon and said when needed, you please use it. At that moment, Ram remembered the arrow, and the arrow manifested in his hand. And the description is it was made of very subtle elements. So it was very light, but at the same time it was heavy as these mountain ranges. And he fastened it to his bow. He invested the Brahmastra Shakti into that celestial arrow, and he drew back the arrow, and with full force it entered the chest of Ravan. It came out the other side, it entered into the earth. Blood went pouring from his body, and Ravana was finished. And the celestials showered flowers and beat their kettle drums and celebrated. The wicked Ravana is dead. What's the name? Matali. There we go. See? Google knows best. He sent that message. Matali. Nityananda Pran knows best. Matali. Thank you. Okay, so that was number 5 out of 8. And now comes number 6. And this is something similar. Since Lord Ramachandra is the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vasudeva, he is not attached to anything in this material world. He is the most beloved supersoul of all self-realized souls. And he is their very intimate friend. He is full of all opulences. Therefore, he could not possibly have suffered. He's saying it twice, right? Because of separation from his wife Sita, nor could he have given up his wife and Lakshmana, his younger brother. To give up either would have been absolutely impossible. He said it now 3 times in one verse, one prayer. So there's giving up. He could not possibly have suffered because of separation from his wife, nor could he have given up his wife and Lakshmana. So the separation is, that she was kidnapped. And many of you know, probably all of you know, that she wasn't kidnapped. Right? Sita wasn't kidnapped, right?
Mentioned in the scripture.
It's mentioned in the scripture. So she was kidnapped or not kidnapped?
That is you can say the shadow, right?
Very tricky. It's in Chaitanya Charitamrita. You know the pastime. Chaitanya, it's a nice pastime. Chaitanya, you like Chaitanya Charitamrita even more than Srimad Bhagavatam. That's really something. It's very early in Madhya Lila. Lord Chaitanya's in a South India tour. And he goes to a place, and one Brahmana, who is a devout worshipper of Lord Ram, invites him to come for lunch. Mahaprabhu accepts the invitation. He goes to do his midday bathing and Gayatri, etc. Comes to the man's home at the appointed time, and he's just sitting there in meditation. So Lord Chaitanya asks him, my dear sir, what's your intention? You know the answer. You know the answer? What does he say? What does the Brahmin say? I'm waiting for Lakshman to come back from the forest. He's gathering the ingredients for cooking. And as soon as he comes, I'll begin the cooking. And Lord Chaitanya didn't think this man's mad. He thought this is his spontaneous devotion. It's his meditation upon Lord Ram. And so he said, okay, I'll wait till Lakshman comes back. He begins his cooking. And after his cooking, then Lord Chaitanya accepts the meal, of course it's offered, and says, now you take. He said, I'm fasting. I'm fasting till death. How's that? Because Sita's been kidnapped. And how can I maintain my life? Sita's been kidnapped. And Lord Chaitanya reassured him, my dear Brahman, it's not true. Sita has not been kidnapped. I assure you, Sita has not been kidnapped. Please take your meal. On the compelling instruction, and he was always chanting Ram's name, right? Except when he was chewing. So, Lord Chaitanya left. It was in South India, but it wasn't all the way in South India. And at Rameshwaram, this is directly cut and paste from a verse. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had a chance to read the Kurma Purana, in which he discovered that the form of Sita kidnapped by Ravana was not that of the real Sita, but who was it? A mere shadow. You said Abbas, right? Did you say shadow or Abbas? Same thing. Shadow. Abbas. Abbas. And then Prabhupada's purport says, the shadowy Sita was placed into a fire as a test of chastity. It was Maya Sita who entered the fire, and the real Sita who came out of the fire. So there was a switcheroo. That is, Indra had the foresight to know that the Maya Sita should be put in Sita's place, and he took care of Sita until it was time for Sita to be returned to Ram. So it was the Maya Sita that was taken, or the shadowy, or Abbas, Sita Abbas, who was taken. So Hanuman's right. It's not possible for them to be separated, nor is it possible for them to be given up. But there's the pastime where the real Sita is in a situation where it's probably not possible. Children are children.
They probably don't realize how much of it's coming out.
Okay. Take a gag with you. They're going to do it. Okay. You did? Oh. Oh, good for 5 minutes. Okay. Two minutes. We'll pretend it's not there. It's convenient to kind of take a big brush and a bucket of white paint and just whitewash everything and say it's Leela. It's like Krishna's, or here Ramachandra's Leela Shakti makes everything just nice. But in fact, it's so within Leela, there's layers. The Lord is enjoying, although it may look like he's suffering. But he's suffering in a transcendental sense, that's an ecstasy, and that's the suffering of separation. We're going to see some images visiting Jatayu when Jatayu was, etc., etc. So there's worldly emotion that's played upon, but that's a semblance or the shadow of the transcendental emotion. But even the shadow emotion is so sublime that it's really easy to get caught up in the drama and relate to the characters and the tribulation of the characters, even if you don't have a transcendental attachment to the personalities. Sita, Ram, Lakshman, Hanuman. Transcendental attachment to the personalities, because the personalities are transcendental, and one's emotions become churned by circumstances. It's so easy to become in awe and attached and appreciating their character because it's so sublime. And then the pastime moves and your emotions move. And slowly, because the emotions become absorbed in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then the emotions become transcendentalized as the conception also becomes transcendentalized. And Hanuman is like the guide. He's the servant, But on the other hand, he's like the guru who, because he's so intimately connected, he's able to give truths about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the absolute truth. So it's very nice. So let's go through some pictures. Dasrath becomes concerned. He gets inspired by Leela Shakti to have Ram become the king, become anointed. He doesn't know how long he's going to live, etc., etc., etc. And Kaikeyi, the mother of, who's Kaikeyi, the mother of? Bharat. You sure? Yeah, okay. Just checking. Mother of Bharat. He's away. Bharat's away. Who's Bharat with? He is one of the other brothers. He's with Shatrughna. And so the two of them have gone. Where have they gone? Maternal? Maternal grandfather. Don't know. Uncle? Nityananda Pran, send a signal. Kaikeyi's father. Kaikeyi's father, right? Kaikeyi's father, so maternal uncle. Grandfather.
Will be grandfather, father. Maternal grandfather.
Maternal grandfather. Maternal grandfather. That's right. Double check with us, Nityananda Pran.
Kaikeyi's father.
Huh?
Kaikeyi's father.
So maternal grandfather. Okay. And Shatrughna, because they're the closest friends. They went together. And Kaikeyi hears the word. Dasrath is planning, and he's doing it in a big hurry. So there she is, Mantra, giving her stern advice, speaking very heavy words. And she convinces Kaikeyi, because she's a soft and malleable personality, that this is a trick. It's against your son's interest. Why is Dasrath doing it this way? So you should remember the two boons that you asked, that you were given. Ask for them now. Here's the two boons you said ask for. She gets her to repeat it several times, so she gets her script right. And don't become weak. And so when Dasrath comes, and you're in this disheveled state, you go into the sulking room. There's a sulking room. And throw your jewelry all over the place, and he'll come and he'll try to woo you, and you ask for the two boons, and he'll be in disbelief. He won't believe it, but you stay firm, because he'll keep his word, because he's a man of his word, and he's given you his word. So he then is unprepared to invite Ram to come. She invites Ram to come. And here's what your father wants of you. Here's the two words, the two promises that he gave to me, and you'll have to fulfill. You won't become the king, and you're in exile. How many years? 14 years. 14 years, right? You know Ramayana, that's why I'm looking at you. Also just because I know you like Ramayana. Because when you chant the Hare Krishna mantra, you're chanting the Ramachandran. The cat's out of the bag now. Okay. So it's there. The emotion is wonderful. Each person that Ram goes to inform that he's going to the forest for 14 years, they're smashed, or they're smashed, or they're smashed. There's all kinds of different emotions. When Lakshman informs his wife that I'm going too, she just accepts. She's a very exalted personality. And Sita is also exalted personality, but she insists I'm going also. So there they go. They're off to the forest. This terrible scene, very similar to Krishna leaving, but different. Krishna's going to Mathura and Ram's going to the forest for 14 years. There's the everybody, everybody. There's Dasarath following behind. There's Sita, there's Lakshman, so many persons. And off into the forest. Many things happen as they enter the forest. After Bharat comes and tries to persuade them to come back, the answer is no, here's my shoes, you go back and you take my shoes and you worship the shoes and you rule the kingdom on my behalf. Anyway, so Bharat goes back, Shatrughna goes with him, and there's Ram, Lakshman, and Sita in the forest. It's a big, we just covered it. I mean, it's the details and the emotions that are churned. Ram comes to find out that Dasarath has died, and that's a big scene. So many things. The mothers are there, the queens are there. Very emotional. And there they are in the forest. And Sita likes it in the forest. She always liked the garden, she likes nature, she likes the flowers, she likes the animals. She feels right at home. There's inconvenience, of course, because she's a princess, now queen, but she's fine because she loves nature and the birds and the everything, and there's Lakshman doing the needful service. She's quite happy. Here she's interacting with squirrels and the flora and the fauna, and so it's very nice. Very nice. Very nice. And then comes the problem. The problem, meanwhile, Ravana has a plan to kidnap Sita based upon some advice he received. And there you see Sita pointing to the deer, the golden deer with spots, etc., etc. And she points out to Ram that she would like to have the deer. I'm not going to go into this too much because I want to speak about it during Memorial Day weekend. What transpires. It's very important how the thing flows. There's Lakshmana's chin saying, who's ever seen a thing like this? This is a Rakshasa trick. Don't fall for a Rakshasa trick. But Sita's got her arm around Ram and he's henpecked. That's the message that was in the verse. That's why we're pausing on it. So because it's something that Sita wanted, he's ready to do it. Even there's danger because of Rakshasa trick, but I'm all powerful. And so off he went. And while he's away, in comes Ravana in disguise of a Brahmana. Now, it's not in Valmiki Ramayana, to the best of my knowledge, but there's Lakshman Rekha, the circle around the cottage, and he says many things that are not appropriate for a sadhu to say. She's taken aback by his words, and she crosses over that line, and Ravana takes her away. Jatayu comes, fierce battle. Look at Jatayu. He's got one of the animals flying through the air in his claws. Big, powerful Jatayu. And the many-headed Ravana, and having battle, and he chops off his wing. And when he chops off his wing, this, of course, it doesn't happen at the same time, but there's Sita throwing her ornaments over the side in a cloth over Kishkinda mountain. Ram's searching. When he comes back, can't find Sita. He goes mad in transcendental emotion, because remember what Hanuman said, there's no question of his lamenting, but he's lamenting transcendentally. He finds Jatayu. Jatayu has his parting words. Ram treats Jatayu like an elder, great devotee should be treated and respected. He does the last rites for Jatayu. He finds out the direction, at least, that Ravana went with Sita. And meanwhile, in Lanka, Sita is being tormented. And I want to read what she says. Now, this is, she's lying on the ground and being tormented. But I think it's just nice to hear. This is from Krishna Dharma's Ramayana. She's a little bit like, different, but a little bit like Prahlad speaking to Hiranyakashipu. She doesn't hold back anything. Ravana had tried to win her over each day since taking her captive, but his attempts sickened her. She longed for the day when Ram would come and destroy the demon. Surely that would soon come. She did not feel that she could take much more of Ravana's torment. Sita's resistance only made Ravana's desire for her more insistent. He stared at her incomparably beautiful form. Even though she had been fasting and had not washed since he had kidnapped her, she was still far more lovely than any of his consorts. Indeed, yet if it were not for Nala Kuvara's curse, you touch anyone, you're dead. The demon folded his hands in supplication. He's trying to woo her. It goes in a different direction towards the end. What will you gain by lying here grieving? Your youth is passing swiftly and will soon be gone. Enjoy with me now while you can. There are none in this universe who can compare with me in virility and power. You are the finest of all women. I believe that after creating you, the celebrated Brahma must have retired, seeing his work to have reached perfection. Ravana offered her the position of his principal queen. He would subjugate the entire world and offer it to her father, Janaka. He had already conquered the gods in heaven and now stood unchallenged as the most powerful person in the universe. What could Ram do against him? Sita should just stop thinking of her puny prince, who was clad in rags and lived in a lonely forest. Perhaps Ravana suggested Ram had already died. There was no chance that she would ever see him again, and even if he should somehow find his way to Lanka, he would be immediately destroyed by Ravana, standing at the head of an unlimited number of invincible Rakshasas. The demon went on, his voice rising and falling melodiously as he implored Sita, "Become my wife, oh, most beloved one, and enjoy life. Put on the best garments and gold ornaments, shake off your grief and range freely with me in delightful groves along the seashore." Sita shuddered at Ravana's sinful suggestion. Without looking at him, what did she do next? She placed a symbolic blade of grass between herself and the demon. Remember that? Yeah. She then replied, "Give up your futile hope. You no more deserve me than a sinful man deserves perfection. How do you expect me to perform an act condemned by all pious women? How do you imagine that I will rest upon the arm of any other man after I have once rested upon Ram's arm? Do you not realize that molesting the wives of others leads only to destruction? Evidently, there is no one in Lanka who knows morality, or perhaps you have become so degraded that you are simply unable to heed good advice." Ravana snorted in anger. He clenched and unclenched his fists. There seemed to be no way of winning this woman. His eyes remained fixed upon her as she continued without looking at him. You should know me to be inseparable from Ram, as sunlight is inseparable from the sun. Unite me with Ram at once if you wish to do good for yourself and your Rakshasa race. Make friends with Ram. Otherwise, see your city, yourself, and all the demons destroyed for good. If I am kept here, you will soon see well-aimed arrows joined end to end, filling the sky. There will rain down upon Lanka like so many fire-mouthed serpents. You were able to steal me only when Ram and his brother were not present. Indeed, O weak one, it is not possible for you to stand in the sight of Ram and Lakshman any more than a dog can remain under the gaze of a pair of lions. She rebuked Ravana further. Even if he sought shelter at the peak of Mount Meru, or descended to Varuna's abode, he would not escape from Ram. By his wicked act of stealing Sita, he was already killed by his own destiny. Ram would be the instrument to fulfill that fate. With the evil Ravana remaining their leader, the Rakshasa race would be destroyed to their roots. Sita spoke harshly. I would burn you to ashes myself by the power of my asceticism and chastity, but I do not have my Lord's order, nor do I wish to waste my ascetic merits on such a wretch as yourself. Ravana was furious. Breathing heavily, he spoke slowly, his deep voice barely constraining his rage. Because of your insolent words, listen to this is the last paragraph. Because of your insolent words, you deserve to be put to death. Only my love for you prevents me from having you immediately killed. You have a few more months left of your 1-year reprieve. If by then you do not submit to me, then my cooks will mince you up for my morning meal. That's how much I love you. Ravana was so enraged at Sita's words, he drew his sword and rushed at her to kill her. But Mandodari stopped him. That's his chief queen. And you see all the ladies. There's Sita by the base of the tree. Now it looks like Hanuman has already shown up. He's there on the tree. And the ladies are there ready to do the bidding of Ravana. So he gave him the order, torment her, do whatever you have to do, break her will. She's mine. So there's Sita looking up in the tree. There's Hanuman, but he hasn't shown up yet. After everybody left, the Rakshasis were tormenting her and tormenting her and tormenting her, and she was feeling terrible. Hanuman is there for this part. The Rakshasi named Trijata tells Sita of her dream of Ram coming to rescue Sita. Now, there's all these other Rakshasis surrounding Sita, but she manages to get this secret message. Mounted upon a celestial chariot, drawn by 1,000 horses and coursing through the air, Ram is coming to rescue you. This is her dream. The couple, she and Ram, wore white robes and white garlands and were ablaze with splendor. And then she saw Ravana, robed in black with a red garland and sitting on a chariot drawn by asses. So that's Trijata. So amongst all these other people, Trijata is a kind of mystic, and she has a reputation for being kind of like a clairvoyant mystic. So Sita takes a little courage from these words, the kind words of Trijata. There's another session that comes while she's in the Ashok Grove. The wife of Vibhishan comes to see her. And she confirms that the magician who Ravana had make a head that looked just like Ram's head and came out with the magician and placed the head before her, said, "This is your husband's dead." So Rama informed her, "It's just a trick to break your will." So she was comforted by Vibhishan's wife. Then comes Hanuman's challenge in getting the message to Sita, confirming, so he decided to recite Ramayana, pastimes of Ramachandra, and she's hearing this very sweet voice. She's very happy to hear the glories of Ram, and she looks up in the tree and sees a monkey, and she recoils. Uh-oh, what's this? But in the right time, it's a sequence of many things. He presents the ring that was given to him by Lord Ramachandra, and describes the glories in such a way that Sita becomes convinced, and he informs Sita, Ram will soon be here, and you'll be redeemed, and everything will be brought back to normal again. So she takes some courage. This is one of Hanuman's very special services. There's Hanuman at standard pose at Ram's feet, Lakshman by one side, Sita by the other side. There's another nice painting of the Sadbhuja form of Lord Chaitanya, Krishna, and Ram. 2 more verses, and we're going to be able to complete the 8 verses of Hanuman. One cannot establish a friendship with the Supreme Lord Ramachandra on the basis of material qualities, such as one's birth in an aristocratic family, one's personal beauty, one's eloquence, one's sharp intelligence, or one's superior race or nation. None of these qualifications is actually a prerequisite for friendship with Lord Ramachandra. Otherwise, how is it possible that although we, uncivilized inhabitants of the forest, have not taken noble births, although we have no physical beauty, and although we cannot speak like gentlemen, Lord Ramachandra has nevertheless accepted us as friends? Now we heard something similar from Prahlad, didn't we? Very similar. That favorite verse that we got stuck on so many times. But it comes twice in Prabhupada's purports, but it's from a message that Prahlad is speaking. These are not the ways of achieving the favor of the Supreme Lord. And in this case, it's not just the favor of the Supreme Lord, but accepting us as friends. Look at that what's wonderful painting. I can't repay you. All I can give you is my embrace. He said, that's it. That's all I need. Again, same message. How is it possible that although we uncivilized inhabitants of the forest have not taken noble births, although we have no physical beauty, and although we cannot speak like gentlemen, Lord Ramachandra has nevertheless accepted us as friends. So here's the friendship, formal friendship. There's the fire in which they took vows of lasting friendship to assist one another, he and Sugriva. And this is the scene where Ram is shown that the ornaments that Sita threw over the side of the chariot Ravana was driving or flying in. And when Ram sees the ornaments, his heart is crestfallen. It's pretty easy to pick out who's who. There's Sugriva with the crown on. And there's Jambavan, who's the bear amongst the monkeys. So, Hanuman's service, after finding Sita, is putting Lanka ablaze Here he is sitting by the shore of the sea, looking at the fun. The city's ablaze. Now with his tail dragging into the ocean because it got fire burned, but there was no pain because Sita's prayer that he would not feel any pain. Here's Vibhishan's surrender. Not too much on this because I'm going to speak about it during our Memorial Day weekend. But he came with these 4 ministers. They had mystic powers. Here's the Vanaras, not so sure that they should accept him. He's got motivations, etc., etc., etc. Ram's celebrated words. One who takes shelter of me just once, I give him protection forever. Celebrated passage from Ramayana. Here's the building of the bridge. And there's the Vanaras bringing boulders and thises and that's. And Ram is supervising, Lakshman by his side. There's Hanuman at his feet, ready to do anything. Angada looks like with his by the side of Ram. And of course, the boulders are floating, and it's a one version of Ramayana says they're floating because they write Ram's name on it. But look at those Vanaras, they're flying around with the boulders. And then one version of Ramayana has a little discussion between the squirrel that was just kicking little particles of dust and pebbles. And Hanuman said, please get out of the way, we're busy. And Ram said, his service is as meaningful to me as yours, because he's doing what he can. This is now the compassion of Ram. The compassion of Ram with Guha, who felt completely satisfied doing very simple service for Ram, helping him cross the river. Shabari, his compassion of Ram in dealing with Shabari, who was given some service by her spiritual master, sage Matanga. Stay here, I'm going to depart. But soon Ram will come, and after he comes, you serve him nicely, then you can depart. So her service, I'm just going through this quickly because of time. This whole Ramayana, it could take hours and hours and hours to narrate. But her service in meditation on Ram's coming was like deity worship. She went to the forest and would gather whatever she could gather, and she had edibles ready for him, because today he might come. She had a broom, and she would make the pathways into the hermitage clean, and everything was each day, total absorption. And today Ram may come. You can do your deity worship at home like that. Today Krishna may talk to me. Today Krishna may speak to me. So the service was done. Ram was very satisfied. He accepted all of what, although the fare was quite simple, it was her love and devotion that was the main happiness. So it's a celebrated pastime, so there's many, many nice paintings. On the upper right, it shows the friendship with Sugriva. In the upper left, it shows Ram embracing Hanuman. And down below, it's Ram with Shabari. So he has loving exchanges with different types of people according to their different situations. And here's the last verse. Therefore, whether one is a demigod or a demon, a man or a creature other than man, such as a beast or bird, everyone should worship Lord Ramachandra, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who appears on this earth just like a human being. There is no need of great austerities or penances to worship the Lord, for he accepts even a small service offered by his devotee. Thus he is satisfied, and as soon as he is satisfied, the devotee is successful. Indeed, Lord Ramachandra brought all the devotees of Ayodhya back home, back to Godhead. all the devotees. Back home, back to Godhead. Now you know, so this is they're back in Ayodhya. Devotees of Ayodhya back home, back to Godhead. There's the description of his departure, very celebrated event. But even the devotees of in Lanka, the Vanaras, etc., when the Pushpaka Vimana was made available, it expanded and expanded and expanded and expanded, so it's like a big bus or something. It could take everybody back. And they stopped at several places on the way back, and finally he wanted to get back quickly because Bharata had taken a vow, which he knew about, that if Ram doesn't return, he's going to end his life. So he wanted to come back in time. So he came back in time. There's details and details and details of all that. So here's Ram's return to Ayodhya, and another nice painting descending from the Pushpaka Vimana. Looks more like a swan carrier, but in any case. And there's the queens and the devotees and some of the Vanaras and the grand opulent city of Ayodhya. There's another nice painting. Here's Hanuman looking pretty big and returning back to Ayodhya. And another nice painting. They're seated on the throne, Ram, Lakshman, and Bharata and Shatrughna, with, of course, Hanuman at his feet and his club ready for action if needed. Another final nice painting. The divinity of the personality of Godhead and his sweet pastimes, especially relished. I mean, he nonstop. Hanuman is engaged. We heard from the very first verse, nonstop. He and Rishtasena, they're engaging all the residents of Kim Purusha Varsha in simply glorifying Ram. He was asked to remain behind to spread the glories, so he does. Close-up of the same painting. The glance of Sita looks very wonderful. And here's a painting, a photograph of Ayodhya, Ram's birthplace. And one last little message, and then we're going to end. The Vishnu Dharmottara describes that Lord Ramachandra and his brothers, Lakshman, Bharata, and Shatrughna, are incarnations of Vasudeva, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha, respectively. However, the Padma Purana says that Lord Ramachandra is an incarnation of Narayana, and that the other three brothers are Shesha, Chakra, and Shanka. And Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur says, no problem. Different yuga cycles. The kids are having a great time. Can you see the screen from there? A little bit? They're nice pictures. Okay. So let's see if somebody would like to discuss something about Lord Ramachandra. From what I understand, tomorrow evening is also going to be something about Ramachandra. Excuse me. It's Friday evening. Of course, tomorrow, but Friday evening at your home. And then Saturday. So, Ramchandra. Jai Ram, Shri Ram. Yes. Do we have a microphone? Thanks.
Ramaj, could you
It's on.
Could you show the 8th verse, the last verse? I was just looking at that verse, and the word Sukritagyam Uttamam. Sukritagya, where
So kritagyam.
Lord Ram is very easily pleased, or he's the translation specifically was. It says that it's
You looking at the word for word?
word for word, easily made grateful. Sukritagyam Uttamam. So it's very beautiful meditation. I would like to hear more about how one can experience that quality of the Lord.
You want to answer that question? One can experience it through bhakti. It's very clear. Those who have bhakti, not just the official, but they have bhakti, they experience. He reciprocates. The Supreme Lord is loving, and he reciprocates. It reciprocates according to our regard for him or our love for him. And I tried to bring that out, but there are these personalities with whom Ram is reciprocating within Ramayana. And then when there are people that hear Ramayana, and he's reciprocating with those people that hear Ramayana with some absorption, something happens. There's a transformation. Inside, there's a transformation. And it keeps those persons going further and going further and going further. We see that in the lives of those who are attracted. In Krishna Lila or Ram Lila or Nrsimha Bhakta, same. And they just, more and more and more. And it's not just, quantity, but it's, it's relishing. And when that relishing is being carried inside, then it makes the bumps in the road so much more easy to deal with. Because in this world of duality, there's always something. So that's part of the reciprocation. It was one of the questions yesterday evening. When there's spiritual strength and there's happiness and there's a relationship with the personality of Godhead, one can handle anything. And conversely. So the reciprocation of the kindness is the relationship that sustains one's life and enables one to transcend duality as inconsequential. Then what's the motivation for such a person? You have motivation for such a person, particularly in our line, but it doesn't mean it's only in our line. It's the missionary work, and the missionary work means giving others the opportunity to receive that same reciprocation. And then comes this other topic that you and your wife wanted to speak about. That's devotee care. That's something that's also very important, because there are persons that make some connection, and then this and that happens, and the struggle may become very difficult for such persons. And then what to do? But so that's part of the reciprocation, is being able. It's not that we have to carry people, but it's our life to nourish the Krishna attraction, and by that Krishna attraction or Ramachandra attraction, to help one become able to handle the dualities of this world. You want to add something?
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. So, in the Ramcharitmanas Maharaj, Goswami Tulsidas mentioned Tum Mama Priya Bharat Sambhai. Whenever he appreciate to Hanuman, Ram when appreciate to Hanuman, he said, "You are like my brother Bharat." Why he compare with Bharat, not with Lakshmana or any other?
You have to ask Tulsi Das. I don't know. I don't know.
There is an online.
Let's end the room question. Let's do the online after, behind you. There's a question behind you. You're on. You got the mic. Hare Krishna.
Before you were mentioning two O's,
Could you do something with the volume? It's got, people are soft voices. Go ahead.
two O's which he took, like he won't become the king and he will go to forest for 13 years, 14 years.
14, yeah.
So when he came back, he became king.
Yes, he did.
Will it become something like he broke his vow? Or he never broke his vow.
Huh. Trick question. I guess the wording is very important, isn't it? Oh my gosh. That's for the speaker? I thought you were going to sit on that thing. Nityananda Pran, can you weigh in on this question? It's a nice question. So probably the answer has something to do with what was the pledge that he made, and he obviously is not going to break his pledge. So the language of the pledge that he made is important. The pledge he was asked to make and then that he made. Not, so if the language is, I will not become king. Well, certainly I'll go to the forest for 14 years. So what's the other one? Bharat should become the king. But Bharat refused becoming the king. So it's a trick. It has everything to do with the language. Huh?
To the forest and requested Ram to come back. He promised Bharat that you rule on my behalf and I will be back after 40
Yeah, but I know what that, his, Nityananda Pran, could you unmute yourself or do something to help us here? Call on the phone, we'll put you.
What is the question?
The question is, Ram was asked to do two things. Go to the forest for 14 years. And the second thing Ram was asked was, you will not become the king. Bharata shall become the king. So if he committed that he wouldn't become the king, then wouldn't he breaking his promise? Because he promised, I won't become the king, Bharata will become the king. And Bharata didn't agree to become the king, so is he breaking the promise that he gave to his father? He became the king. That's the question. Oh, he's got him on the line. So we'll let's come back. Anyone else? Yes.
Um, just on this point, one thing that I thought was that Kaikeyi had asked that Bharat be coronated as king, and he go to the forest for 14 years. I don't know if she asked that he become the king permanently. But maybe that's
Yeah, it's just delicate, hair splitting.
yes. But also, I had a question.
Okay. Go ahead.
And this is a question that comes up very often, but maybe this is a slightly different twist to it, like a slightly different way. What many Lord Ramachandra is known as one particularly who taught by example, and
Yes.
he's Maryada Purushottam.
Yes.
So the big problem that modern Indians and scholars have with Lord Ram is how is he setting an example for men by asking his wife to walk through fire? I mean, how if it was Krishna doing it, okay, fine, but he's meant to be the ideal person, Maryada Purushottam. How is he setting an example?
Well, Hanuman has an answer. He was teaching by example that if you allow undue attachment to your wife, you're going to have a problem. It's right in the verse. Otherwise, how is it possible? Now, he was from how is it? Because he's a supreme, but from this other, how, he's not setting the right example. He's setting an example. Whoever you may be, too much attachment, you got a problem. Give him the microphone. Okay, let's do this.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So when we are in this material world, it's so easy for Maya to appeal and attract people.
It's easy for Maya to come and attract us.
Yes.
Yeah.
But powerful personalities such as Prahlad and Prabhupada, they come from the spiritual world to deliver fallen souls in this material world.
Yeah.
However, they are not attracted and they don't fall back into the pleasures of the material world.
Right.
So they are empowered by the Lord to do this,
Yes.
and it's also because of their own purity and devotion to serving the Lord.
Definitely, you got it.
So,
And what about us?
So what is that main quality that they have that people in this world just do not possess?
Bhakti, the way that Prahlad says it is very clear. He says that there's in our relationship, this is true, Lord Nrsingadev, there's only one thing. You're the master, I'm the servant, and there's nothing else between us. If there's so negative, if there's something else between us, then that one doesn't have the same determination and empowerment. But when there's only one thing, that's the relationship of service, then there's reciprocation accordingly. There's full protection. That's Prahlad. There's only one thing. And one can say the same thing about Srila Prabhupada, that is, obstacle after obstacle after obstacle. And there was some discussion about, persons may become inimical or enemy-like to a devotee that's trying to propagate Krishna consciousness. And then it happens. And then, but in all circumstances, the devotee is protected. Some of you, I'm sure, some of you, like me, have been hearing some of the appreciations about Kadamba Kanana Swami. And he took a bullet for Krishna. And he could easily have died. Krishna, he took the bullet and he survived. And just very interesting way, Jayadvaita Swami said in this eulogy, when he was placed in his samadhi position with chandan and garlands and so many nice things, fragrant scents, there's also a so many centimeter wound in his chest from the bullet that he took that could easily have killed him. But he was, so there was a bullet, but he was protected. And he took the project, the temple, out of the hands of criminals. They had their hands on the property because the leadership was not sufficiently strong to deal with them. And once they were in, to get them out, it's you're risking your life. So, protected by bhakti, singular. So now the answer? What was the promise that he made that he didn't break when he became the king?
There were two vows or two requests from Kaikeyi. One was that Bharat become the king, and the second that Ram should be exiled to the forest. So there was no vow or there was no request that Ram should never be the king necessarily.
You're okay? I mean, a college rebuttal is, okay, a vow that Bharat should become the king. So why are you becoming the king? He didn't vow that he wouldn't become the king. The vow was that Bharat would become the king. Okay. So Bharat should become the king. You want to add to that?
One would have to read the actual text.
Yes.
Because what I read was that she said tomorrow he should be coronated as king. But it has the same problem that you're saying.
But he still had to be brought. He couldn't be coronated till he was brought, and he had to send a messenger to get him. So not tomorrow. Okay, and online. We're ready for online.
This is from Rati Prabhu. So on the appearance day of Lord Ramachandra, we observe fasting until sunset. Do we break our fast with Ekadasi Prasadam after sunset?
I knew that was going to come. And that gets more technical than that. Hari Parshad Prabhu has a very nice, detailed way of saying breaking the fast means grain, and the grain is to be taken at a certain time in the morning, like you're breaking Ekadasi. So you break Ekadasi with grain the next morning, and when you take non-Ekadasi, when you take Ekadasi Prasadam at sunset, it's not the same technically as taking with grains. So that's a technical, there's some Sanskrit terminology with all of this. Next. That's it. I'm sure you do. And she's got one too, I'm sure. Baruta, I'm sure she's got one. We rely on both of you. Go ahead, speak. There's the microphone.
The question was from this morning, Guru
This
Maharaj.
morning, yeah, that you were in the car. Yeah, okay.
Before that, just would like to share just an appreciation, Guru Maharaj, about Kaikeyi and Mandara. I used to have some strong negative feelings about them.
Really?
And similarly for Jatila and Kutila, but in your past visit, we had this beautiful discussion, and you mentioned Krishna was actually enjoying like the drama.
Yeah.
So I had the same kind of appreciation now, just hearing this beautiful pastime, Shabari, Guha, and Hanuman, all these interactions, they were kind of the instrument for Lord Ramachandra's Leela. So I just wanted to share that
Yeah.
appreciation. However, whichever way it appears, when it is Lord's transcendental Leela, it is actually beautiful.
Yeah.
Very sweet.
Yeah.
And the question from this morning, also pertaining to our discussions on Prahlad Maharaj, also Guru Maharaj, you were saying we cannot bound the Supreme Personality of Godhead into the rules
Right.
that we are bound.
Yes.
And you mentioned about Aniruddha's example in that. So just would like to hear, does that apply to the pure devotees also? I'm particularly thinking of Prahlad Maharaj and Vidura, the way they spoke to his father Hiranyakashipu, and in Vidura's case to Dhritarashtra. It doesn't seem quite empathic. And I'm also extending that to...
This is a question that Jivana Jivana asked.
Yeah.
You're on the phone, okay. Texting. Okay. He has more thoughts. The question is, doesn't seem empathic, the way that Prahlad was speaking to his father, or the way that Vidura is speaking to Dhritarashtra. It's not by our modern yardsticks. It would be nice. You don't speak like that. And it's not nice for Sita to speak like she spoke like to Ravan. So, you want to hear about how should we speak? We don't imitate, that's for starters.
Yes, Guru Maharaj. The specific question is, can we understand the pure devotees also in the similar way when they speak in a certain way or when they behave in a certain way?
Yes, as long as we don't try to imitate. Now I have a license. They know when to speak soft or be silent. And that's one of the teachings that's in Light of the Bhagavad. I remember very clearly Prabhupada's making, the sages know, like similar to the verse of Bhagavad Gita, the tortoise can extend or withdraw his senses. So a pure devotee may say something and may say nothing, may say something very strong. I mean, Prabhupada's using the word rascal so many times. And then he would say, it's not me, it's Krishna. Mudha, rascal. And he knew very well. It's a strong word. And he would use it so often. Why was he doing it? It's not empathic. It's insulting. There's a little video of some professors meeting with Prabhupada in the garden in Los Angeles. They're all in suits and well-dressed, and one of them says, Swamiji, why do you say rascal? Why you may say like misinformed or, they're misguided or something like that. And Prabhupada smiled and said, rascal is the sum total of all those things. He just rolled on. So he was saying for a purpose. And it was irritating, the educated person. And they're sitting at his feet, hearing him say rascal, and not walking away. So there's some charm in the purpose for which he was doing what he was doing. And they were, wishing him to edit a little differently, but he didn't. I mean, he could have. he maybe he, after that he decided maybe I'll use that word less. Maybe. He is, certainly he is aware of the sensibilities of people, his audiences. So for one who is a pure devotee, they may do that which is by worldly conception a transgression. And on the other hand, he would, a pure devotee, Prabhupada, would often, conform to norms. And then sometimes, for a purpose.
I actually, I was thinking about the about compassion that how Lord Ramachandra was exhibiting all that compassion, and so it seems like bhakti is the tender feeling of affection for the Lord, and compassion is more like that same tender feeling for all living entities, and it seems like in Bhagavatam, the quality for a disciple that's emphasized is submissiveness, and then for a teacher, for a spiritual master, it's emphasized compassion. Like I was just thinking about how everything's permeated by this quality of love, everywhere. How we need to just spiritualize this affection and
You should give a class on that topic.
No, Maharaj, I was thinking how Sutta Goswami was glorified by the sages for being very submissive, and how Prabhupada says that was the most important quality, and not other external qualities like good learning and all that. And then how Shukadeva Goswami was glorified by Sutta Goswami for his quality of compassion. So I was wondering if you could speak a little bit on that.
You did a really good job. I think I'm going to go to Jamuna Jivana and see if we can get Nityananda Pran's further feedback. I'm going to pass on your request to elaborate on this topic. I'll request you give a little class, not necessarily a seminar, but give a focused class, maybe a Sunday feast class on that topic at some point in time. Go ahead.
Maharaj, he declined to come online and share his thoughts, but
Okay.
he did say he wants to articulate it in writing and share with yourself.
Okay, fine. Okay. And
But he says
because
it
he
requires
has
a longer explanation, he said, in relation to the question of if the
did he
vow-
violate a vow?
Yeah.
Okay. He can ask, so he can send Nityananda Pran. You can put it in writing, and we'll go over it. One of these next 4 classes, probably 3 classes. One more online, and then we're going to end. Unless there's something over here. Something over here? Okay.
This is from Sangeeta Kapoor Mataji. Just like Gopal Hari Prabhu's question, I always have hard time understanding why Sita was sent to forest when she was pregnant just because of someone's comment. How is that setting an example for us?
There's many things that have been written by learned acharyas on this topic. Not specific to how is this setting an example, but more as to why it was done. especially, just amplify it when she already showed her purity by fire. She showed her purity. That test was there. There's nothing wrong. So it's just some fellow saying something. So the example setting, this is my stab at that question. He didn't send her to the forest. He sent her to in the care of Lakshman to the ashram of Valmiki. So she wasn't sent to the forest. She was sent to the ashram of Valmiki. And he was placing his own, the example setting is he was placing his own satisfaction, happiness, etc., below the position of the people of the subordinates of a king should have all respect and no doubt and suspicion about the king or leader, subordinating his own happiness to the duty of being a king. Now, there's many things written about other thoughts, why it happened, the washerman, and so many nice things. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.